Hello, Undo Redo listeners. I have been pre recording my podcasts and scheduling them to post this next month, like throughout each week of the month, so I can enjoy the beginning of summer break. Also, maybe you know this or maybe you don't, but I own a painting business. It's outdoor painting time, and truly, it is my favorite. Painting plus being outside, in fact, working outside is just the absolute best ever. Getting up early is my favorite. Hiking, biking, strength training, studying, stretching, meditation, whatever it is, it's always better in the early morning sunlight, and it fills me with so much joy. I've been doing a lot of thinking lately about how this is my life and how I've come to choose doing more of what I love and making time for more of what I love. And it's truly been more fulfilling. I've been working on being more present so I can tap into feeling better. And I also notice I don't miss the beautiful moments as often when I'm present. Not to say that I don't love the first, 27 years of marriage or whatever, but I am more present now than I ever have been. And even with my youngest child, who will be a senior next year, I'm enjoying him more because I allow myself to be present. I've worked on it. I've earned it. And what a great thing. I want to help you get there too. I'm not 100%, but it is really nice to be able to do the thought work around creating what I actually do want to feel and experience throughout my days. After work, one of my favorite things to do is I usually go let my goats out of their pen. There's just something about watching the animals, especially goats, right? As they kind of chomp at the weeds in the field and jump and play, and they get all riled up, and they're so cute. Even when they're big, they jump around like those little goats that you see on the reels and things like that. They come right up to greet me by getting right up in my face and trying to chew on like my clothing and my earrings and my hair and my shoelaces. It's just been the simple things for me anymore. Today, I wanted to talk to you a bit about you, more specifically, your relationship with yourself and your relationship with this summer season. Because as the school year was coming to an end, I overheard many of my friends who are teachers and moms talking about this. They were exchanging thoughts on the upcoming summer season and how school was winding to an end, and it sounded like they had ran a marathon and they could not wait to get to the finish line, like it was going to be all better then. And this sparked kind of a plan for me to help more parents and teachers who may be having these same or similar thoughts. So I had cards printed out with a QR code that would lead them directly to my booking calendar, and I offered to help them. I took these cards to like 6 different schools for Teacher Appreciation Week. And if all of them take me up on it, on the coaching, that would be, let's see, like 250, 300 sessions. I forget how many I printed out, but I was up for the challenge, especially in this season of my life. And I really hope everyone does take me up on it. And I'm going to include you in that too. You don't need a special card or QR code because the first chat is always on me. Just go to lifecoachlisa.com and book a time and try this out. You won't know until you know how amazing it can be and what can happen in a 30-minute chat. All right. So if you're feeling like you want to just try it out, give it a try. It would be great to help everyone, I think, because being coached gives you access to more agency than you had previous to the conversation. It's very expanding, like opens your mind, kind of gets you out of the box we put everything in. And it also helps me as a coach to add more value to the world because I know we are all capable of doing so much more for ourselves and for others than we're doing right now. I'm a mom, so I know how it goes. Right now, in the summertime, school's out. All the kids get home. And you've probably come up with some family vacations, some road trips, even some summer camps to occupy the kids' time, right? Make productivity out of it and keep them learning. You're most likely hoping that the chores get done without too much of a struggle and that the screen time isn't such a fight all day, every day. Usually there's things like family vacations, like road trips, extended family members involved at some point through all this, which all of those opinions and personalities can clash easily. And it can be feeling more like an obligation than something to look forward to sometimes when we aren't used to all being in the same place for long periods of time anymore. But just uniquely in the home, there are more opportunities to be annoyed and triggered because we're just not used to having each other around anymore. We're all usually doing our own thing, and right now we're all together and it's summertime. Boredom comes up, not knowing what to do. Mom, entertain me. I'm hungry again. Like, there needs to be rules and structure, and we're the enforcers of it. So there's more on us as parents to make sure that those things are structured and scheduled to our liking and to what would benefit everyone, right? I remember how it all went. I was so excited for school to be out and for my kids to be home. Like, no more getting them up and ready, making sure their homework was done, dropping them off in the mornings. We could mostly just be home. And I thought, I just needed this break. And then several weeks into summer, it felt like more of a constant drain. Like, it kind of pulled on my energy and it pulled on my abilities every day, my capabilities, right? And it was repeated power struggles and fits, including my own. The heat can get to everyone. It's hard to find motivation when you're feeling drained like that. Like, we just kind of muscle through. But usually after a bit, some of the newness to being home and being around each other, it does kind of settle down. But I wanted to talk to you about your beliefs. And here's why. It's because all of it matters more than you think it does. As this summer season approaches, what are you thinking about it? Because sometimes we build it up in our head. We're looking so forward to it that there's these expectations and we're let down. Other times we're just like trying to avoid it and do the least amount of work possible, and nobody really has a good time from there. So belief about what's going to happen and what you build up in your mind matters. And who you are as a person matters even more. That's why this podcast is called Reclaim Yourself. All of us fall default to unintended patterns of self-talk and self-beliefs and these thoughts that just flat out are robbing you of your identity and your agency. Here's some passive belief examples. And I call them passive beliefs because they just kind of come and go. Some of them, like whether or not you're pretty. Sometimes we're feeling it, sometimes we're not. Whether or not we're successful, capable, smart, whether or not we're doing a good job as a parent, or being creative. Sometimes you can see it and because you already believe it. Other times you don't see it, so you question it all and you wonder if it's even who you really are. Just don't leave it up to someone else to decide for you. This is how you'll know that you're doing this, is because if someone else is noticing or saying something complimentary about you and it's recognized, then it's validated inside you. And you're actually lifted into that belief about yourself. They, in a sense, get to decide who you are for you. That's a passive belief. It's one that you're not believing as if it already was there, because you'll only accept it if it's put out there by someone else or for all to see and admire and agree with. But that kind of a belief about yourself is very fleeting and it will need constant attention or it goes away. Now, why am I even bringing this up? Well, it's more important that you actually believe it. This is part of reclaiming yourself and part of deciding what your summer is going to be like. Have you ever known someone who is constantly fishing for compliments? I know what it feels like inside. I've done it before too. You put yourself down in an area that you want to be praised for because you're not so sure about it. You're a little insecure about it. So then you receive the praise. And if your mind thinks it comes from an outside source, it will always need to find it and get it again and again, because what goes on around us is always changing. So we always got to check in, like make sure we're still good. Like that identity's still good there, right? Like what I think about myself really is more based on what you're thinking about me. Got to just make sure it's still there because it's not coming from within. And here's the whole deal. You get to decide, or by default, you believe them and let them decide. Both have a high risk of being wrong anyways. A lot of times we're wrong about the way we feel about ourselves. But when you're in the driver's seat, you can pivot. You can decide differently. You can change direction whenever you want. You can drop those feelings and pick up new ones because that's you acting, not just letting others decide. So feeling empowered is very important to you reclaiming your identity because it's a far better way to live versus being at the mercy of others' acceptance and approval and their opinions of you. Have you ever been like just emotionally or physically drained in a room with lots of people? I have, right? A lot of times we're in their heads more than our own, and that is exhausting. So I want you to reclaim yourself and find your own. Okay. Back to just kind of about teachers. Teachers have gone from like predominantly male to female, and working outside the home is for both partners anymore. But women, I want to tell you, you raise the kids even though you work. You make sacrifices in your hobbies. You go without many things for the sake of the family. Depending on how you were raised, you have this manual for how mothers must be even. Everyone in your home has a manual too about it, by the way. And same with your religious culture, your social culture, and just the area which you live. And you feel like you must navigate it all. Or they'll let you know you're doing something wrong by strongly objecting and disapproving of you as their mother or as, a person in the religion or a person in the neighborhood. But you get to decide what that looks like. I just want you to be aware that you may have lost some of your identity and need to reclaim it. Okay, so I'm talking about like a whole bunch of things that are your identity or become your identity. I just want to make sure that it's coming from you and not from what someone else tells you it should be. Because a lot of us look around outside of ourselves for answers. As a parent, right, you provide food, which is this whole thing. It starts with needing an idea about the food, and then you go shopping for the food, and then you transport it back home, and you need to keep the food safe until you prepare it. So you're putting it in fridges and freezers and cutting it up, and phew, you do a lot, but you are not what you do each and every day. In some cases, you may feel like within your home, you're not allowed to have your own feelings. Because if you do, and it's a negative feeling, well, what's wrong with mom? Yeah, what's her problem? In other cases, some women may be at the mercy of each and every moment and that determines how you feel. Mom's mad right now, don't go in there. Oh, okay. Too demanding, and you must get your way or else everyone suffers in the house. Right? These aren't who you are. These are just things that you've learned to do to just kind of deal and cope with your life and your own emotions. But either way, you're always busy in the background arranging all the inner workings throughout the home because you are mother. Your main objective is caretaking, which could mean your needs aren't met by them or you. Or you don't allow yourself to be needy because that would take from the family's limited resources, right? You can't have all the attention because all the attention is needed elsewhere. So you just kind of dismiss yourself. And these are ways we just kind of lose our identity and we don't even mean to. It just happens because we're human. You've either let yourself go for the cause or you've demanded you keep it together and run yourself into the ground. And there's two extremes, but there's also the middle ground where we kind of don't do anything about it. But no matter what, it's always appearing as a thought, right? You have it all together or you don't. You matter and you're seen or you don't. And you become good at pretending and manipulating to just kind of survive. And this sounds a little bit harsh. I say, I want you to reclaim yourself this summer. You're like, oh, I know who I am. And yes, I'm implying that you haven't claimed who you are because there are very few people. And I want you to consider this. There's very few of us have ever or even know how to reclaim ourselves. I know we think we do, but that's where coaching comes in. Because we mistakenly think that either what we do is who we are, or what our work title is who we are, or what roles we play. All right, you are not your work title or even what you do every day. You're not even the two words your parents named you. Mine was Elisa Pontius until I married and I became Elisa Mortensen. Right? That is not even my identity to claim. Okay, those are just two words that describe like this soul inside this body, but that doesn't really say who I am. I believe we've always existed and we're always going to exist. And the name is kind of the surface level. So what is deeper? This means you need to look deeper than those titles and roles that life has given you. Reclaiming yourself is what we need to address. Because when you know who you are, you're most likely to be more like yourself. Okay, and that's important because you're your truest self when you experience peace and connection. We're not ourselves when we're like active and triggered and things like that. So let's have you look back real quick right now. Remember having a time when you felt that you were strong and you had a sense of calm and belonging. It's probably a time when you were really seen. You felt really heard and recognized for all that you are. And that is a great way to describe it. Come up with one in your mind. Can you think of a time? Hopefully, it goes back to a time when you were quite young. Our minds, when we are young, are not as opinionated. Self-talk is we speak very highly of ourselves when we're young. We're not kind of jilted like we are. It's much easier to be more present as a child. They're easily redirected. Think about it. They're kind of accepting of it, everything that happens in the moment. Where's your memory at? Because I want you to give yourself this gift. I want you to make a conscious choice right now today to reclaim who you see yourself as. If you walked up to that little version of yourself that felt so connected and so confident, what would you tell her? What would you tell her she is? Because you're that same person today. You get to pick anyways. I know what I would tell my little girl self. This is what I would say. Don't question your value, ever. What you feel and what you have to say matters. Don't let anyone convince you that you're wrong for doing or saying anything. You get to choose and learn for yourself. That is how you find yourself. Just keep going. You have a voice. You have a big, loving, playful heart. So use them to add value to this world and to help yourself and other people. Listen to heaven, put blinders on because you have a purpose. That's what I would say. How about you? What would you tell your childhood self? Because you're going to reclaim yourself this summer. You're going to be who you truly are, not what you have become by default. Would you say you're kind? Are you forgiving? What would you say you value most? Like, what are your top priorities? I'm pretty sure right now today, your top priorities have something to do with some like run around a to-do list and agenda and things like that. And that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about as you're going about life with the to-do list and the agenda, what do you value most in your top priorities as you're going about that life? If we could watch you on camera, would it be obvious to us watching, whoever's watching you, daily, would it be obvious to us daily what your top things are? Would we see you getting down on the level of your child and connecting with them? Would we see the importance that they have in your life? If we could hear your thoughts, camera in your head, if we could see your thoughts daily, would it line up with what you said to that little girl? I just want you to take what you are as your true identity. Like I said, peace and connection. And usually we had that younger and compare it to right now today, what we're actually doing, because just bringing yourself to the present moment and seeing what actually is helps us really decide. It opens everything. At some point, life gets to be too much and we close ourselves in. We all get into sort of a survival mode because the world, it pushes you to feel like you can't keep going like this. And then desperation sets in and we all make choices that are unlike our true selves. And that's a survival mechanism in order to make it through. It's human. It's just defense. It's a coping skill. But it's not always needed as much as we think it is, especially at the moment. What just came to my mind, when little kids are eating nuts and they get a bad one, they vow to never like nuts again. I think we do this as adults. Even though not all the nuts are bad, we just simply become unwilling to try again in case it is bad again. Nothing's gone wrong. We've just been doing the best we can. But most of those nuts are pleasant and wonderful. So why stop the whole entire experience of it because of one that's horrible? or two when it happens, and it's nasty and it's horrible and we don't like it. We become so attached to that worst outcome that we miss out and block so many of our good times, all this enjoyment and love and fulfillment that we could have because we're focused so hard on trying to prevent the bad ones. And we become people that we're really not intended to be, avoiding all the bad times instead of chasing the good ones. So maybe you've never thought you would have anxiety right now, or a temper, or yell and make threats at your kids like you do. You thought parenting was going to be so much easier. You're better than that. But you are doing the best you can with what you know how. You just got off track. You're avoiding all the possible bad outcomes, which leaves you just feeling panicked and desperate and avoidant. Next thing you know, you can't fully appreciate the good things. And it's just simply because you're out of practice. You're just in a pattern of seeing all that isn't happening, what didn't get done, what has yet to be done, all the behaviors that need to be fixed and things that need to be better. And I only bring this to your awareness to show you that you have the decision-making power of your agency, your superpower, to undo all these things that you don't want to be. They just happened to you by default, and now here you are. The key to doing it is by embracing it all. Just laugh it off. Wow, I have become a tyrant in my own home. I'm actually quite a nag. Yeah, I'm not really creating a good experience. The summers, yeah, it's exciting, but you're mom. It's kind of all up to you too, because you get to decide how you react in all the fits. But by embracing it all, because it serves a great purpose for teaching you, and it was there when you needed it, but now you can see that that's what's stopping you from having more peace and connection and joy in your life. You can take a look at your thoughts about yourself. What do you hear in your head? Are you always hearing yourself justifying inside? Are you monologuing? I need to do that. That needed to happen. He's got to be set straight. Oh, they can't do that. Does it sound controlling? Are you blaming? Maybe you're blaming your own reactions and emotions onto the situations and the people. And take a close look at how easily you're tipped over. Are you easily tipped over? Do you easily react or unleash? And is that who you really are? Just welcome it, embrace it. That's how we move on. Oh, I have become something that I don't want to be. And do you need to reevaluate? That's how we move forward. You have to embrace them in order to move past them. In fact, it's your story. You just make some decisions and commit to them and do things differently. You do those things. And they're real, and that's how you've survived. But what if there were a way to get back in touch with who you really are, that little girl you were talking to, and that peace and connection and love that you wanted to feel? To undo the need for repeating all the same things that you always do, you have to just reevaluate. So who are you as a wife? Are you loving and supportive? Or are you more fault finding and blaming? Nothing's wrong here, right? Don't be oh, I'm bad. It's wrong. I need to change my views and yeah, I do find fault and blame actually. And I kind of don't like that anymore. And when you reclaim, you just do what you can do. You direct yourself intentionally to be more loving and supportive if that's what you are. And when you mess up, you're just oh, that wasn't loving and supportive. And you just go, hey, I'm trying to be more loving and supportive. And that wasn't, I shouldn't have said that. So let's just have a redo. This is what I actually meant. This is what I really meant. And practice trying to believe what you intentionally decided about yourself. Just try it on. And the same thing applies to being a parent. Are you a good listener? Are you fun and playful? Do you show them by how you plan time to engage with them and be interactive? Do you show them you love them? Do they know how important they are to you? Do you say good things about them all the time? Real good things, not just behavior surface level things that we don't want them thinking their behavior is the only thing that matters, right? Do you need to get curious about why you're reactive to them, or you feel the need to belittle them? Maybe look inside and just clean up. Maybe just take a look inside and clean up some of your poor thoughts and judgments you have about the kids. They're not what they do or don't do, and why do you need them to be a certain way in order for you to be happy? This is how you reclaim who you are. You look inside to see if you're pretending, if you are manipulating, if you're justifying, or if it's real, because you have all the power. And I know I say it a lot. Your superpower is your agency. So what are your thoughts and beliefs? What will they be? What are you going to choose? Who are you to them? Reclaim yourself so you can show up this whole summer as your best version of yourself. Do it for them and for you. Get up every morning and set your intention for the day, or set your intention for the next day when you go to bed that night. And just review your day. Every day, practice this. Make sure there are more amazing moments more often by stepping into your amazing beliefs about how capable and creative and loving and supportive you are. Right? Reclaim you. When you show up as who you decided to be, you're going to feel so much more empowered. It won't matter what's going on around you. You know without a doubt who you decided to be. And I like telling moms that you are the tide. You rise because you're the tide. You're mom. When the tide rises, so do all the boats. Everyone around you directly benefits from your shifting. You rise above what you have been allowing yourself to do. And it is time to own your summer for your sake and theirs. So become empowered by seeing your own voice, your own decision. Your story can be one of love, commitment, and new, higher, and holier ways of thinking and being. Heaven wants this for you, and it is up to you. When you fully decide who you are, it draws a boundary inside yourself. Humans love and thrive having boundaries. People think they're restrictive, but they're not. We feel lost when there are none. We have too much freedom. We actually don't do well as humans without some parameters to anchor us to something bigger than us. The rules you make for them do not get you to having a great summer. It's the parameters you put on yourself that get you to having a great summer. You being the best version of yourself draws a line in what we will allow ourselves to do and what we absolutely will not do anymore. So what are your thoughts about summer now? And are those thoughts directly about what you have pre-decided and set your intention for? I will probably do an upcoming podcast on the power found in deciding things ahead of time. But for now, do you see the power in the belief of yourself, the thoughts you have about yourself, and reclaiming yourself? One of the hardest things to do in this life is to believe in new things because it's foreign. You've never done it before. So get on a call with me if there's something you'd like to believe about yourself, but you don't know how to make it real, because I can help you with that. And share this with whoever came to your mind as you're listening, because that is how the heavens reach us. Quite often, your needs are met through another, and it looks like someone just popping up into our mind. So pay attention and then go do it. We need each other. It's vital for each of us to be seen and to stay connected. So I'll either be talking to you in class or on a call or in next week's podcast. Thanks. Bye.